Osio Nigod. Hello, my name is Wade Blevins, and welcome to Beginner Cherokee here on RSU TV. So today we're going to learn some basic introductions, and I'm going to be talking to you a lot in Cherokee. So if we can go ahead and look at my computer, we'll go ahead and get started. So in the beginning here we have Osio. This is our language. This is the written form of our language developed by Sequoia. Underneath that it says, Akai Chalaki Atelo Kwaste. First Cherokee lesson. So this is the very first lesson. Hopefully you'll be with us for the entire journey. So how I want you to watch these classes might be a little bit different than the way that you watch or have taken other classes. I don't want you to concentrate on memorizing or on learning. I want you to concentrate on comprehending my message. And subconsciously, all that language, all that input will get in there for you. And eventually you'll be able to produce it yourself. So all I want you to do is concentrate on the meaning of what I'm telling you and what we're talking about. Don't worry about memorizing. Don't worry about making lists or notes or anything like that. And most importantly, I just want you to have a good time. So we will go ahead and begin. Italena. Chalaki iti woni. Let's talk Cherokee. First thing we're going to learn is that means yes. The next thing that we are going to learn is tla. Tla. That means no. So and tla. And you'll see there, you see the syllabary for that. So the first thing that usually when you encounter a Cherokee speaker, the first thing that they will ask you is your name. So you will say, Da Wadon. So I will say, Wade Blevins, Da Wadon. Wade Blevins, Da Wadon. Wade Blevins is my name. Usually they will ask you, Gato Usti de Chaton. Gato Usti means what? De Chaton means is your name. Now there are lots of different ways to say this depending on your community. Sometimes they'll say Gato Usti de Chaton. Sometimes they'll say Do de Chaton. Sometimes they'll say Do Us de Chaton. Sometimes they'll say Gato de Chaton. But all of that all means what is your name. And then when you're talking about somebody else, you'll say do don, okay? So here we have a woman, we have a gehya, and then we also have a man, ashkaya. A gehya, ashkaya. A gehya, ashkaya. All right, so Dawadon is my name. Dejadon is your name. Dudon is his or her name. Gehya, woman. Ashkaya, man. All right, so up here on the top you can see Gata Usti. Gata Usti means what? So here you see our syllabary, and here's a question for you. So Gata Usti, or what, Dudon is the name. Na Agayi. Agayi means first. Agayi means first, just like we had Agayi Jalagi lesson. Agayi means first. Ugawiyuhi. Ugawiyuhi means chief. It can also mean leader. The last word there we have is Amayetli. Amayetli. Amayetli means America. So Gata Usti Dudon Na Agayi Ugawiyuhi Amayetli. What is the name of the first leader of America? Okay, so here's a question for you. Gata Usti Dudon Na Agayi Ugawiyuhi Amayetli. Gata Usti Dudon Na Agayi Ugawiyuhi Amayetli. Hopefully, in your mind or out loud, you answered George Washington, du dong. George Washington, du dong. George Washington is his name. George Washington, du dong, a ge yi, u ge wi yu hi, ma ye tli. George Washington is the name of the first leader of America. Here's another question. Kata usti. Kata usti means what? Du dong. Du dong is the name. Na a ge of the first. A gehya. A gehya is woman. A gehya. So what is the name of the first woman? U ge wi yu hi. First woman leader. Jalagi a yetli. Of the Cherokee Nation, Jalagi Yetli. Gata usti tu don na a geyi a gehya uga wi yuhi Jalagi Yetli. I'll say the question one more time. Gata usti tu don na a geyi a gehya uga wi yuhi Jalagi Yetli. And of course, that person Wilma Mankiller, du don. Wilma Mankiller, du don. Wilma Mankiller was her name. Now, a lot of older speakers would put Wilma Mankiller, jigesa, du don. That jigesa just indicates that somebody has passed on, that they're no longer living. It's something that I used to hear as a kid growing up when they would talk about people who have already passed. Now, if they've been gone a long, long time, they wouldn't use that. But if their passing was fairly recent, especially, they would use jigesa for that. So, Wilma Mankiller, jigesa du don na agui agehya uga wiyuhi jalagi yetli. Okay, here's another one. Gato usti. What is gato usti? Means what? Du don is the name. Ageye of the first. Askaya. Askaya. Ageya means woman. Askaya means man. So gata usti dudo ageye askaya. What is the name of the first man? Nedong. Nedong can either mean the sun or it can mean the moon. Okay? So what is the name of the first man, and then sun or moon? So the next word will probably tell us what we're looking for. So jiwu we dole, jiwu we dole. Okay, jiwu we dole. That means to walk around. So jiwu we dole means he or she's walked around. So I don't think we've ever had anyone who's walked on the sun. So this must be walked on the moon. So kata ustitu don agei askaya nedo jiwu we dole. So what is the name of the first man who walked on the moon? And the answer is Neil Armstrong du don. Neil Armstrong du don. Good job. You guys are so smart. Okay? So now moving on, we know the word that jalagi means Cherokee. If you use the word ganti after it, it means using Cherokee. Jalagi ganti. Yonegi. Yonegi ganti means using English. Yonegi ganti. Yonegi is English or Caucasian. Yonegi ganti means using English or the language of Caucasian people. And then, of course, we have our question word, gato or gato usti. Okay? So this says, Yonegi ganti wade dawadon. Yonegi ganti wade dawadon. So using English, Wade is my name. Yonegi ganti Wade dawadon. Jalagi ganti, using Cherokee, unole tawadon. Jalaki kanti unole tawadon. So using Cherokee, unole is my name. Jalaki kanti unole tawadon. Unole, by the way, just means wind. So let's ask a couple of questions using those two statements. Yonegi kanti we tawadon. Jalaki kanti unole tawadon. So if I ask, kata usti tawadon jalagi ganti, kata usti tawadon jalagi ganti, your answer would be unole, unole, unole tawadon, unole tawadon. Yonegi ganti na, kata usti tawadon. So you see this sentence is a little bit different than what you might expect. There's a little extra sound on there. Yonegi ganti na. Na, when you put that on the end of a word, it means what about. So when I say yonegi ganti na, means what about in English? Yonegi ganti na kata usti tawadon. So what about English? What is my name? Wade. Wade tawadon. Wade tawadon. So those questions again. Kata usti tawadon jalagi ganti. Kata usti tawadon jalagi ganti. Kata usti tawadon jalagi ganti. Unole. Unole tawadon jalagi ganti. Yonegi ganti na. Kata usti tawadon. Yonegi ganti na. Kata usti tawadon. Wade. Wade tawadon. Yonegi ganti. Osta. Osta. All right, so we're going to learn a little song today. So a lot of times music will help you remember words. So today's focus is on tawadon, dudon, dejadon, to be named. So this says jalagi kanogishki. Kanogishki means song. Jalagi means Cherokee. So we have it in phonetics for you, and it's just co, co, kata usti dejadon. Okay, so co is a shortened way of saying osio. So in our language, we can shorten a lot of our words. So osio means hello. Co also means hello. So depending on the circumstances or depending on the speaker, you'll hear them say either osio or they might say co. Kata usti dejadon. Kata usti dejadon is a question asking, what is your name? And then it's, here it is in syllabary. Co, co, kata usti dejadon. And then there's a blank, tawadon, and another blank, tawadon. And so then you put your name in there, and then you put tawadon at the end. So I would say Wade tawadon, Wade tawadon. Then the very last sentence says, Ginali ge sesti. Ginali ge sesti. Ginali means friends. Ginali means friends. Ge sesti means it will be. So this is like saying, let's be friends. Ginali ge sesti. All right, so if we could turn away from the computer for just a second, I'm going to show you some actions to help you with this. So actions also help our brains remember vocabulary. So music and gestures both are memory devices to help us learn. So when we do this song, CO, we're just going to wave. So CO, CO, hello, hello. Kata usti, kata usti. This means what? Kata usti. Dejadon. Okay? Kata usti dejadon. All right? So siyo gado usti deja don. We're going to repeat that twice in the song, okay? And then you'll point to yourself and say your name. So for me, it'd be Wade, Dawadon, Wade, Dawadon. And then Ginali in sign language, you take your hooked fingers and you switch them. Ginali ge sesti, Ginali ge sesti. Okay, so I'll sing this for you. Didi nogi. Didi nogi means let's sing. So Didi nogi sawu tal jom. Siyo gado usti deja don. Siyo gado usti deja don. Wait down wadon, ginali ge sesti. All right, so it's very easy, right? It's a very, very easy song. I know it may sound or seem really simple or like a little kid, but you know, when we're learning a new language, we're like a little kid, and so these techniques will help you remember. So I know, so try not to feel silly or stupid. You know, you can lock yourself in the bathroom or whatever you need to do to practice this, but it will help you if you put it into music or if you do gestures with it. So I'll sing it for you one more time, okay? So Didi nogi sawutal jom. Siyo gado usti deja don. Siyo gado usti deja don. Wait down wadon, ginali ge sesti. Osta. Okay, if we could go back to the computer real quick. We'll look over those words one more time before we move on. So it says, siyo gado usti deja don. Siyo gado usti deja don. Wait down wadon, ginali ge sesti. All right, so now you can have that song running around in your head for the rest of the day. Okay. So this is a little joke. And so I'm going to tell you the joke first. This is a joke all in Cherokee. So I'm going to tell you the joke first. And then we're going to go over it one by one. So now you'll be able to tell a joke all in Cherokee. So the joke goes, Michael, uno se le Jane, Giolega askaya sawu adaha ganasatid Smith do don Jane udane gata usti do don so I kana scanny. For some reason, the last part of that sentence got taken off, but says so I kana scanny. All right, so probably right now you're like, oh, I don't recognize anything except for do don't. Hopefully you did recognize do don't. So I'll read it again to you really, really slow. Michael uno sele Jane Giolig askaya sawu adaha ganasatid Smith do don't Jane udane kata usti do don't so I kana skinny. All right, so let's figure out what this joke is actually saying in Cherokee, okay? So the first word, uno sele, that means he or she told him or her. So uno sele means, so Michael uno sele Jane. Michael told Jane. Okay, Michael uno sele Jane. Giolig means I know somebody, so, or I know him, or I know her. So giolig, I know. And then the next word is askaya, which we already know means man. Askaya means man. Sawu means one. Sawu means one. Then the next word, adaha. Adaha, wooden. So, Chiolig ashkaya sawu adaha. I know a man, one wooden, and then the next word, ganasadud. Ganasadud is something used in place of a leg, okay? So it literally indicates like something's hanging off of something else, you know, just as a prosthetic limb would hang off of the appendage. So ganasadud is a word that we use, something used in place of a leg. Ganasadud. Adaha ganasadud. And then Smith do don't. So that first sentence says, Michael uno se le Jane, Giolig askaya sawu adaha, ganasadud Smith do don't. So Michael told Jane, Giolig askaya, I know a man, sawu adaha ganasadud, with one wooden leg, Smith do don't, named Smith. So then Jane udane, and you might have guessed that udane means said. So udane, Jane udane, Jane said. Kata usti du don, what is the name? Son-i means the other. Son-i, or son, you can say son. Kanuskan. Kanuskan means leg. So Jane udane kata usti duto son kanuskan. So Jane said, what is the name of the other leg? So there's a little bit of a dad joke there for you. But it helps us. It has the words that we're working on today. So it has do don't in there. So I'm going to tell it to you one more time in Cherokee. Michael uno se le Jane, Giolig ashkaya sawu adaha ganasadud Smith do don't. Jane udane kata usti do don't so kanaskan. So I actually heard this joke. I was watching Mary Poppins with my 5-year-old niece, and this joke was on there, and I thought, well, I wonder if I could tell that joke in Cherokee and it would make sense. Some jokes that we tell in English, when you put them into Cherokee, they don't make any sense, but this one does make sense. So I told it to a good friend of mine, and she laughed, so, you know, I'm not sure it's the funniest joke in the world, but it gets our job done of exposing you to the language, so. All right, so we're going to go over all the things that we have gone over today, okay? So we've done quite a bit. So the first word, agayi. Agayi. Agayi means first. Agayi means first. Chalaki. Chalaki. Chalaki means Cherokee. Adelaquasti. 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 That means lesson. So agayi chalaki adelaquasti means first Cherokee lesson. That was the very first thing that we saw today. Idalena. Idalena means let's start or let's begin. Okay? Idiwoni. Idiwoni. Let's talk or let's speak. So if I say chalagi idiwoni, that means let's speak Cherokee. If I say yonegi idiwoni, let's speak English. Yonegi idiwoni, let's speak English. That means yes. Is yes. Kla. Kla. No. Dawadon. Dawadon is my name. Wade. Dawaton. Wade dawato yonegi kanti. Chalaki kanti no unole dawaton. Right? Unole dawaton. Dechaton. Dechaton. Dechaton is your name. So somebody might ask you, Kata usti dechaton. Kata usti dechaton. What's your name? Dudong. Dudong. Dudong means his or her name. Kata usti dudong. Kata usti dudong. What is his or her name? Yonega. Yonega is Caucasian or English or white, you might say. Yonega. Ganti. Ganti means using. So yonega ganti. Yonega ganti means using English. Jalagi ganti. Jalagi ganti means using Cherokee, right? Our question word for today was gata usti. Gata usti. Gata usti means what? Then we learned the word for chief or for leader. Can also be used for president. So ugawi yuhi. Ugawi yuhi. Ugawi yuhi. You hear this word in a lot of Cherokee hymns. They say, Jagawi yuhi means you are the leader or you are the chief. So talking about unetlana. Amayetle. 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 That means the United States. Amayetle means United States. Ashkaya. 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 Man. Ashkaya. Man. Agehya. Agehya. Agehya means woman. Agehya is woman. Nedong. Nedong. Sun or the moon. Nedong. Okay? Wu we do le. Wu we do le. Wu we do le. Or you can say wu we do le. Means he walked around. And it indicates wu we do le means he walked around, but he came back. He didn't stay there. He's not like when we, in the case of Neil Armstrong, he's not still walking on the moon. Playi wu we do le. Kanogishki. Kanogishki is a song. Kanogishki. Didi nogi means let's sing. So hopefully you can see that there are some similarities in the sounds. Kanogishki and didi nogi. That nogi indicates singing. So kanogishki is a song. Didi nogi means let's all of us sing. Okay, we learned some numbers today. We learned sawu, we learned tal, and we learned jong. Sawu, tal, jong. Sawu, tal, jong. 1, 2, and 3. So you can also say sawu, tal, li, jong, i. Sawu, tal, li, jong, i. 1, 2, 3. But usually in spoken Cherokee, we just leave the i off and we just say sawu, tal, jong. O-C-O. O-C-O means hello. And then, of course, the short way of saying that, which we learned in the song, is C-O. C-O. Ginali. Ginali. Ginali means you and I are friends. Ginali means you and myself are friends. In Cherokee, we don't really have a way of saying like, he is my friend or you are my friend It's a reciprocal. When we say it in Cherokee, it's a reciprocal relationship. Ginali indicates that I'm your friend and you're my friend too. So it goes both ways whenever we use that word in our language. Okay? Que se esté means it will be. Que se esté. Ginali que se esté. It will be that you and I are friends. So that's a way of saying, let's be friends. Okay? Then we have uno se le. He or she told him or her. Michael uno se le Jane. Michael told Jane, right? Geolig means I know him or her, or it can also be like I recognize somebody. This is we use a different word if it's like to know facts. This is used only for knowing people or recognizing them or knowing who they are. Geolig. Adaha means wooden. Next one. Ganusadud. It's something used in place of a leg. Something used in place of the leg. Ganusadud. Son or son-i. Son or son-i means other. And then kanushkin, or you can say kanushkini. And that means a leg, kanushkini. So if we could put the camera on me for just a second. So we'll go ahead and we'll review, and I'm going to teach you guys some gestures to help you remember some of these words. So, because like I said, there have been studies that show that gestures and movement also are tied to our language, and so that's why a lot of people, myself included, use our hands a lot when we talk, because the two are connected to each other in the brain. Okay. So we'll go ahead and learn yes, For yes, in my classes, when I teach my classes, I usually teach them a thumbs up for And then, of course, the opposite of that, no, cla, 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 cla. Okay? So, is my name Da Wadong? Point to yourself, and then take two fingers and tap them on each other. Da Wadong, Da Wadong. Wade, Da Wadong, Yonegi Ganti. Jalagi Ganti, Unole, Da Wadong. Unole, Da Wadong. Unole is my name in Cherokee. Wade is my name in English. So, De Tadong. Of course, you point to the other person and tap your fingers. In Cherokee, a lot of older folks, when I was growing up, I was always taught not to point at people with my finger like that. And so when we do De Tadong and you point to somebody else, you use your palm open. So De Tadong, right? So if you want to ask the question, what is your name? Gato Usti De Tadong. Gato Usti De Tadong. What is your name? And then we learned Du Dong, his or her name. You can point away, Du Dong. Okay? So we're going to learn a little bit of ASL as well. So ASL will also help you. Not everything that I teach, not all the gestures that I teach will be ASL, so, but a lot of them are. And so this is one example. Agehya. Agehya means woman. Agehya. Agehya. Now if you want to say man, ashkaya. 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 So it starts at the forehead and comes here. Agehya starts at the chin and comes down to the chest. So agehya, ashkaya. Agehya, ashkaya. Ashkaya, agehya. Okay? So if we were going to ask our questions again, kata usti, do don, agui, first, agui, ugawiyuhi, amayetli, ugawiyuhi, amayetli, ugawiyuhi, amayetli. So I'm going to ask the question, kata usti, do don na agui, ugawiyuhi, amayetli. Do we remember? George Washington. George Washington, do don. George Washington, do don. Agui, ugawiyuhi, amayetli. Agui, ugawiyuhi, amayetli. George Washington, do don. The next question. Kata usti do don na agui agehya. Agehya, woman, ugawiyuhi, chalaki ayetli. Kata usti do don na agui agehya, ugawiyuhi, chalaki ayetli. And if we remember, Wilma Mankiller, do don, agui agehya, ugawiyuhi, chalaki ayetli. Okay? And then the last question that we did, we said, kata usti do don, agui ashkaya, nedon. Nedon, remember, can be one of two things. Nedon, jiwu we do lei. Jiwu we do lei. Walking around. Okay? Kata usti do don agui ashkaya nedon jiwu we do lei. So you might have noticed that there's an extra sound in there than when we did our notes. Wu we do lei, wu we do lei. That G in there means that, or which, or who. So kata usti do don agui ashkaya nedon jiwu we do lei. What is the name of the first man that walked on the sun, or on the moon? Tlakilo, nobody walked on the sun. But Neil Armstrong, do don. Neil Armstrong, do don agui ashkaya nedon wu we do lei. Good. He walked on the moon. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. Kata usti, dawadon. Kata usti, dawadon. Yonegigante. Kata usti, dawadon. Yonegigante. What is my name in English? Wade. Wade, dawadon yonegigante. Jalagigante na. Kata usti dawadon. Jalagigante na kata usti dawadon. In Cherokee, what's my name? If you remember, unole. Unole dawadon. Jalagigante. Good. All right. Then we learned our song, right? So our song, we'll review one more time. Co, kata usti de don. Then we'll sing all that part again. Co, kata usti de don. And then you point to yourself and you say your name. So Wade, Dawadon, or I could say unole, dawadon, unole, dawadon. The last part, ginali. What is ginali? Ginali, friends. Ge seesti. It will be, so let's be friends. Ginali ge seesti. Good. So, Didi Nogi, let's sing. Sawu, Tal, Jon. C-O, gada usti deja don. C-O, gada usti deja don. Unole dawadon, unole dawadon. Ginale ge sesti. Good. Okay, so you can teach the younger people in your family, you can teach them this song. It's a really easy way to start teaching them a little bit of Cherokee is through songs. And we'll learn several songs throughout this Cherokee course. And you can take those and you can use them with the younger people in your family or people in your community or whatever. And then I also taught you a joke, right? So I guess the word joke could be used loosely. So it says, Michael, uno sele Jane, giolig askaya sawu adaha, ganusatid Smith do don. Michael, uno sele Jane, giolig Ashkaya, Sawu, Adaha, Ganesatid, Smith do don. Jane udane, Gata usti do don. Gata usti do don. Son, Kanaskani. Son, this is other. Son, Kanaskani. Michael uno sele Jane, giole gaskaya sawu adaha, ganusatid Smith do don. Jane udane kata usti do don so e kanaskani. All right. So now today you have learned quite a bit. We learned how to talk about ourselves. We learned how to introduce ourselves, both in English and in Cherokee. We also learned a song, as well as learned a joke. So that's pretty impressive for your very first class. So here at the end, I want to talk a little bit about communities and dialect. Our language. Recently, they have declared a state of emergency for our language, which means that our language is in danger of dying out. I am not myself a first language speaker. My grandfather, Dolphus Blevins Jagesa, he was a first language speaker. I grew up around my language, but I am a second language learner, meaning I'm still learning my language. So I think in English, but I'm doing my best to learn the language that my grandpa spoke. So, but they declared a state of emergency for the Cherokee language, meaning that our language is dying out. Most of our speakers are over the age of 50. So within 20 or 30 years, we won't have any first language speakers left. When I was a kid, and this is why it's so important that you learn, and why I'm so thankful that you're watching this class. And when I was a kid growing up, I knew several people in my community who didn't speak any English at all. All they spoke was Cherokee. This year, the last monolingual speaker of Cherokee passed away. So we have no more Cherokee-only speakers left. But we do have about 2,000 first language speakers left. But most of them are above the age of 50. So within 20 or 30 years, that number will dwindle down to just a handful. of speakers that we have left. So that's why it's so important that you learn our language and you use our language to the best of your ability. I'm from Delaware County, and our dialect is a little bit different. There are several different dialects. And we talked about that a little bit as we went over our notes. We talked a little bit about different ways to say things. And as we go through the course, I'll try to indicate, well, in some communities, they're gonna say it this way. In other communities, you might hear it like this. But I relate that to English. I speak English, and even though I was born and raised here in Oklahoma, I can understand an English speaker from Georgia, even though they talk a little different. I can understand an English speaker from Canada. I can understand an English speaker from, say, Boston. But they all speak English a little bit differently. And then if you go across and you go to Australia or England, Ireland or Scotland, their English is even more different, right? And it's the same with our language. Each community kind of has its own way of speaking our language, and we have our own dialects, is what we call them. We call them dialects, but we can still understand one another. So the words that I'm teaching you here, it may not be the same way that the people in your community might say it or something like that, but they're going to know what you said. They're going to understand you. And the more you use the language and the more you're around it and the more you are around Cherokee speakers, the more you will start to understand what other people are saying as well. So I do want to say thank you for attending, for listening in on this very first Cherokee language class here. And so we're going to have hopefully a lot of fun. And each time I'll try to bring a song, or we'll do a joke, or we'll do a small story. Because the more you hear our language, the more you're going to understand it. And you have to understand the language before you can speak it. So with that, I'm going to say itisquata, which means we're done, and donata ko ha'i, which means until we see each other again. Donta ko ha, wadon.